what's mad funny? He's never got no questions, you know. He doesn't know what's going on. What's your name?
You said that you're good at Monopoly. Are you as good at poker?
Yeah.
You had to think about that though.
No, I was just thinking which one I'm better at, because I'm very good at both. There's a lot of similarity in terms of the game is the game and the rules are very straightforward. You can learn the rules in a day, but to actually become good at it, you learn to play the odds and play the player as well.
Just like trading.
There we go. You can't just say I'm an introvert and use that as an excuse to not be out there. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to be loud because closed mouths don't get fed. Then you've got to understand the circumstances where you've got to shut up and listen.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Trader Talk. We are still here with Kazy, and we are going to get into some mindset. So let's get straight back into it.
Let's go then.
Okay. So when it comes to trading, like I said in the previous episode, we are heavily focused on psychology and mindset. Like, it is 99% of what we do. Learning how to trade is easy. I can teach someone how to read a chart within a day, but teaching someone how to manage their emotions when they're seeing huge numbers on a screen, watching them fluctuate, that is very hard. What type of mindset elements does property have, and is it the same level as trading, or is it different?
Do you know, when it comes to mindset, like, I don't know whether you're like, but I always, when I used to hear mindset, I used to think, all right, yeah, and star signs and what else? Like, because I guess for me, I was always someone who just, you have an idea, you do it.
Yeah.
Like, if I've got to go to the gym, you go to the gym. I don't need the mindset to go to the gym, it's just you go and do it. But I think one of the great things about podcasts like this and having conversations, it's like you actually get to learn a little bit about yourself. And I think I've always kind of just had that accountability. But I think for a lot of people, they need to really understand it and understand where their shortcomings are and where they can do better and be better. I think that the thing about property is there's a lot of shiny penny syndrome. Like, all you see on Instagram is this. Now, for those that are not familiar, that's basically the picture you take when you buy a house and you put your key. So it's like, you can imagine, like, you're thinking, I've got to find a great deal, I've got to find my opportunity. And you're seeing John, Joe, Bob, and they've all got their keys. And, you're thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to do something for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to, much as like you spoke about, like, remove the emotion from what does it look like, what's it going to feel like, to actually be like, you know what, does this deal make sense? Like, we spoke about it before in terms of just living the numbers. Like, my background outside of property is economics. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm a spreadsheet nerd. And I'm a spreadsheet man. I'm macros, I'm running my numbers. That's where I live in my spreadsheet. So
see, that angles towards trading as well. Like, the whole macroeconomic element of that is like very much trading based as well.
Yes, I think in that sense it's all numbers based, right? It's like you have parameters, and the same in property, like we stress test our deals. Mm-hmm. So that's like running, like, from an Excel perspective, it's like your what if functions. What if property prices drop by 10%? What if my build cost goes up by X amount? What if the term in which I wanted to be in the deal increase? Mm-hmm. How does that impact it? And does the deal still work when you have like less successful or like kind of like less favorable opportunities in market conditions? Mm-hmm. So I think having to do that. But I think also, like, from a mindset perspective, it's very much a case of like, you have to go out there and you have to work hard. So a lot of people look at people that do an amazing deal and be like, oh, they just got lucky. Like, that person got lucky. But lucky doesn't come about sleeping on your sofa watching like the latest thing on Netflix. Lucky comes about when you're proactive and doing things. Mm-hmm. So the more deals that you appraise, like, people are scared to get on the phones and speak to agents. And it's a numbers game. You might have to go and look at 100 properties online, view 10, have offers declined on 9, and get that offer accepted on the one that makes sense. So I guess from a mindset perspective, it's actually being able to deal with failure and understanding that failure or things not going your way or not going to plan doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It's what do you take out of those each individual instance to learn and be better going forwards.
I think that is a really good point, mentioning about like it's the failure element of it, because I think with traders, every trade you take, it can be a win or a fail. And with traders, sometimes when you take that loss, it's almost like a hit to the ego. Whereas I think when it comes to like property or other businesses, I think people can view it in a different type of way, because if you're taking a loss or you're having a failure within a property, you can look at, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I do next? And then kind of move on. With trading, a lot of traders will just go straight into like revenge trading, which is basically like they'll take a loss and then they'll go straight back into another trade, hoping to make that back. But I think when it comes to business and property, you don't have that, like, you can't just go again. Like, you can't just go straight away. You have to kind of sit back and take a break.
Like, we spoke about that. Solicitors are slow. Estate agents are slow.
Yeah.
The whole land registry process is all very slow.
Yeah.
So and you can always use that the downside of people is being like, well, it's slow, nothing's going on, and people almost fall into a cycle of, it's nothing's happening for me right now. But I think somebody that's got a good mindset will take that downtime to really be able to say, okay, let me be reflective. Let me see how I can make improvements going forward.
That makes sense. With trading as well, it's almost like a roller coaster of emotions, because like I've already mentioned, the fear and the greed element of trading is a very huge part of trading, because as humans, we are naturally fearful and we're naturally greedy. So every day you're in the markets is almost like a roller coaster. Like, you'll take a win, but then you're going to get greedy because now you've got your ego, you've taken that win and now you want more. But at the same time, you might take a loss and now you're more fearful of getting back into the market. Is it the same type of roller coaster of emotions in property, or because it's so slow, is that kind of taken away?
Yeah, like, I see it all the time. I do see people that take a hit, like they do a bad deal, and it's almost like one deal sometimes can scare people off ever doing property again. Because it's like, look, it's not for me. It's like the idea of, I don't know, if you were going to try horse riding. If you fall off the horse on your first go, you're saying, bro, these horses, I don't like horses, you know? By the way, I almost fell off a horse once, but I managed to work it out in the long term.
Almost.
Yeah, like, random story, but I was in Egypt, and it was like during, when there was like, I can't remember, it was a change of government, there was no one really there. So me and my friend, like Richard, we were staying at the hotel. When I say there's like 200 rooms, there were like 7 rooms occupied. So everything, like, I'll go to the pyramids. They're like, you just climb them, do whatever you want. Like, yeah, there was no one there. So it was like, these people randomly just pop out like a mirage in the desert, being like, do you want to ride like a camel? I was like, no, not really. He's like, do you want to ride a horse? I was like, yeah, all right, go on then. So I was like, can you ride a horse? I said, looked to my friend, I said, yeah. Obviously, we're just doing the horse stuff. Like as you do, that's like, you can tell, by the way, I'm not really the horse guy, but riding a horse. So I said, like, I can ride a horse, but how do you make it go faster? He said, you give it, you know what I mean? So I said, all right, cool. Gave it a horse shot off. Now, in Egypt, it's not like a beach sand. When I'm looking down at the sand, I can just see rocks, boulders. Like, if you fall off, you're done. So I said, all right, cool. Anyway, I'm galloping, doing my, but a bit faster. I said, new question arose, right? How do you turn a horse? He said, you just pull it. I said, all right. This horse did a U-turn, like instantly went, whoop. I'm hanging off the side of the horse now, holding on for dear life with like my legs trying to wrap around the side of this horse. The guide, he's had to run up behind me or gallop behind me on a camel and like scoop me off the side of the horse. It was like Arabian Nights. So I know I digress, but interesting side note. I'm probably not going to ride any more horses.
I wouldn't.
Okay, but the thing, I'm trying to get the image of Kazy on a horse in a desert and a camel coming along to save the day out of my mind right now. But the whole thing is...
Yeah, I'm trying to picture that, sorry, I just went
Yeah. Do you know what, like, picture like Aladdin, you know?
Oh my God!
Lord,
Do you have a picture of this horse?
I don't have a picture. I mean, it wasn't really a moment that I wanted to really remember. So I've not really been on a horse since.
Yeah, I can imagine just...
But I say that to say, I can imagine why people would have a negative experience.
Oh, yeah.
And like with some things, it can be the case, you're saying, but realistically, I still quite enjoyed the beginning part.
Yeah.
And I understood that, if I really wanted to ride a horse, I shouldn't let that experience. I know that I had a lack of experience. I had a lack of expertise. And the reality is, if you want to ride a horse and want to do it like something you want to enjoy, then you should probably get the right training. You should learn from your mistakes and you should go again. And I think I'd say that much like in property, it's very much down to, okay, if you found something that you want to enjoy, don't just give up at the first hurdle. Don't give up because it doesn't go well to start with. Take that as a feedback loop, learn from it and say, you know what, I did something with a lack of expertise. I can now understand that I have a shortcoming and I need to make up for it, whether that be through education, whether that be through doing it, but doing it in a safer state, where there's not rocks, where there's, you know, maybe a bit more of an instructor, maybe the horse is on a leash.
Yeah.
But again, so I think when it comes to mindset is, don't allow failure to determine who you are going forward.
But it is the whole saying of like, if you fall off a horse, you have to get straight back on it. Otherwise, you're probably never going to get back on one.
Yeah.
So I think it is the same with failure, like with whether it's a trader or whether it's just someone in business or property. If you take an L, if you fail in something, if it's something that you really want to do, then you need to just get straight back on and go again. Otherwise, you're going to sit there with that fear. You're going to let the fear take over, and then it's going to be something that you're just not going to want to do again.
Yeah, and it's going to fester. Like, you see it with people that, like, a lot of the time when you hear people have fears, whether it be of heights, of spiders, of, like, you know, claustrophobia, like there's some obviously real life examples, but in most cases it's for a bad experience they allow to fester, and then they have allowed that to be their mindset, that I can't do this, I can't do that, I am no good at this. But if you actually took the time to learn, get comfortable with it, you probably can do it, and probably are more capable than loads of people that are actually really successful at it.
I think as well, it kind of, there is like a very thin line between like, so for example, people like you will be just like, you'll just do it. You'll have an idea, you'll see a gap in the market, something, and you'll just go with it. I think I would say 90% of the population, people aren't like that. People really have to kind of like build that mindset if they don't naturally have it. And I think when people just wait on things and don't have that of like just go straight for it, people will sit back, think about things, overthink things, and then that's when like the mindset element comes in.
Yeah.
I think if you can kind of mold yourself into being a person who just does it, granted you're probably going to make some mistakes, but I think it's better to just go for it rather than sitting back thinking about it, wasting time. New legislation comes about that makes it harder for what you want to do. Do you think that like people can build that type of mindset, or do you think that that's like something people are just born with, like you've either got it or you don't?
I think it's hard to say from a place of privilege where I guess I had it, but what I would say is that you can build confidence over time. So it's like when you look at, you know, when was the best time to buy property? It was always yesterday.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't that, it was, you know, the day before, etc. So, you know, now is always the time to take action, but taking action without, you know, the right things in place can lead to you going down the wrong path. So like even with what I do, we set up like the PBK community, and for some people, they don't necessarily have that confidence. But if you give people accountants, like lawyers, architects, all at their disposal to effectively help them along their journey, and then a sounding board of people that are doing it, what people actually realize is they have a lot more to themselves than they realize. And a lot of the time, people know everything. They just need somebody to reinforce the fact that actually, you do know this stuff. Like, just go out there and do it. Like, you can do it.
What is PBK?
So effectively, like, I was like being on internet, like social media, like I was getting approached by people like on a daily basis saying, can you mentor me? Can I shadow you? Like, could you do any internships? But the reality is, like, I'm full-time in property. I don't have the time to be one-to-one mentor. So I sort of said to myself, look, what would have I wanted starting out? So I set up like a community subscription-based program where people can effectively pay to join it. They then get access to myself, like my power teams, as I mentioned, accountants, solicitors, architects, builders, all the people that I've tried and tested and now work really well with. Right. They also then have access to the WhatsApp group where they can ask questions like, look, I'm looking at this deal. So we do collective deal analysis. We do bi-weekly calls, site visits at people's projects. So you really get to see people that are either maybe a couple of steps ahead of you, or you get to learn from people and effectively building like a community and an ecosystem of property developers that want to invest in property, but want the security and a safety blanket of having the right people around them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really good. And how big are you now?
So we've got about 100 members at the moment. So we've got 100 members. We had some great milestones. Been running for around 18 months. I think collectively bought around 106 properties. Like, sick. I think on target to have a 50 million GDV over 18 months. And I think it's great because we can now start to have conversations with like, you know, lenders and pull on people power. If we're going and borrowing like 25 million from lenders, we can now say, look, well, we want to work on having better rates, better products. Same thing when we're using service providers like builders or relative services. We can pull on the fact that we're coming together as a community and, you know, effectively work better together.
Yeah, very interesting. Can you talk me through a day in the life of Kazy? Like, from the moment you wake up, what do you do? Like, when you wake up, I'm interested.
So I was always someone that used to wake up late. Like, that was always like my thing. I used to be bad in the mornings. Like, but over time, I think recently I've started to enjoy it. So I find things that counteract like maybe natural poor habits. So like generally now in the mornings I'll either go boxing, go to the gym. But if I'm very honest, like a property developer is a glorified secretary a lot of the time. Like I spend so much time. Hello mate, hello? You there? You're not there? Okay, are you gonna be there? Okay, mate, so there's a lot of managing builders, but realistically my main focus at the moment is looking for opportunities. Like that's where now I've got to a point where I've got a project manager, I've got like the executive assistants, I've got like ops managers that kind of deal with the day-to-day running of the business. Right. So I'm really focusing on acquisition, new sites, new opportunities. So yeah, go to the gym, spend a lot of time on the phones, catch ups with the team, looking for new opportunities on site, not all the time, maybe sort of every couple of days across like various different sites. Obviously built up like a reasonable like sort of social space as well, so doing stuff on the social media, and then just looking after the PBK community, seeing how, you know, we can make it as good as possible, as we're always trying to increase the value of the offering.
Oh, nice. Would you say every day is the same, or?
No, so like pre-COVID used to have an office and was there, and it was like, why am I here? Why am I in this like, you know, serviced office? It's like, you know, I'm not really out there. So a lot of the time now I actually work out at my gym, like nice gym. They've got an office, they've got meeting pods. But it's like, so I can be at the gym and be like, do you know what? I actually fancy going to play tennis or paddle and things that I enjoy. There's loads of other like-minded people there. So I think my days vary like massively. But I've tried to, you know, work on a better work-life balance, so I get to do more of the things that I enjoy. A lot of it's like sports-based.
Would you say that's financial freedom?
Yeah, I think like I don't really think financial freedom's a real thing.
Okay.
Like, because it's like
supporting mads there.
Yeah, like it's not like, okay, like so for example, I went to the Forbes gala for ACLT the other day, African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, which was put together in partnership with Dean Forbes. This is somebody who's just exited the company for £2 billion. Ask him what his day's like ask him whether or not he works harder than all of us do.
Yeah.
He's financially free, but he's still working because it's about what you want to do. I think what money gives you is a choice to decide how you want your day to operate. So for example, if you're in a position where people will want to work with you, you can determine your meetings, people will come to you. But in terms of freedom, like, do you think he doesn't have expenses and overheads and bills to pay? Like, you know, you have to make the money. So that freedom idea, I think, is a bit of like a red herring.
Yeah, so what's like the final stop for you then? When are you going to retire?
Do you know what? Like for ages I said I was going to retire at 40. And I said at 40 I'm going to like potentially like look to stabilize the portfolio.
40's knocking now, isn't it?
Mind your business.
I didn't want to say that.
No, mind your business. But it's not knocking, it's like whispering from a distance.
You're over that mark now.
Yeah. No, but you can't tell. So.
Could you not guess how old he is? I can guess how old I am. I look older than you, bro.
I think you look like, you know.
Hey.
You know.
Nah.
I'm trying.
Oh,
but yeah, in terms of, do you know what? I think for me, when I think I went on this journey myself, like whether it be through like learning, through therapy, and I think like you realize that the idea of like, oh, what's the end goal? Like the end goal isn't really that important. It's the journey and like what it takes you to. And I think if you focus on, I want to be worth 100 million, I want to be worth whatever. When you get there, what does that mean? Because the reality is if you're worth 2 million, say you've got 2 million liquid versus somebody with 30 million liquid, what can they really do that you can't? So when you link everything to like, find like, we can all go on nice holidays, we could all fly private, we could all stay at the nicest hotels, we could all drive really nice cars. Like it's not that much different because wealth is so exponential that to go from owning a really nice car to owning a really nice yacht or a really nice plane, like the jump is so exponential that, it's crazy and sometimes it's even hard to fathom. So I think, like, I saw this thing and I think, like, for me, and it might sound a little bit cliche, but it's like, if I asked you now, name me 10 people that have recently won the Nobel Peace Prize, or name me anyone. Name me, like, the teams that, have recently won, like, the Super Bowl. Name me who won Miss World. Name me, like, the top 5 richest people in the world. These are people that are the pinnacle of success. And in most cases, we can name a few of them, but don't really know who they are. Mm-hmm. If I told you, name me a teacher who gave you great advice at school. Name me a friend that was there for you in a time of need. Like, you're going to remember the people that touched your life. So I think for me, it's like, I'm just really enjoying the journey, enjoying the fact the community is helping people, I'm able to help people. So just focusing in enjoying my life as opposed to being like, I've got to reach this destination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely.
So for me, like, whenever people ask me, like, who should they go to for, like, investment advice, property advice, who should they go for property mentoring, etc., etc., you're obviously always the person, because you're obviously associated with Connect as well. Big up Connect. You're obviously always the person that I go to, recommend to. What would you say, someone who can't connect with you exactly, what should someone look for when looking for property mentorship or just general property education?
I think, like, the value that you get out of a question or of a mentor is always going to be akin to the quality of the questions that you ask. So as a starting point, I'd say before you even get to the point of going to a mentor, work out who you are and what you want. So spend all the time on, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Clubhouse, like, there's so much free information out there, that spend the time really getting to a point where you're like, I'm kind of 80% here, but I need to fill up that 20%. And then find the person who's actively done what you want to do, as that will be the shortcut to getting there. And I'd say, look, make sure they're your type of person, because anything, whether it's business, personal, mentorship, is like a mini relationship. Somebody can be amazing, but if they're very, like, Wolf of Wall Street, shout in your face, and you're more of, like, more mild-mannered, it's not going to work for you. So make sure that you actually are personable and can work with that person. Then do your due diligence. Make sure they actually have.
This is the part that I'm looking at more.
Yeah.
Because social media is a huge facade when it comes to property mentorship. What can people look for to get past that facade?
I mean, you can do basic due diligence in terms of company house stuff. Like, ask the questions, because I just said, like, if you know enough, then you know enough. You might not know the answers, but you can kind of smell the rubbish if someone's just feeding you nonsense. So make sure you've done, like, your own research first. You've got an idea of, you're asking good questions. Personal recommendations. Like, if you want to go and get your nails done somewhere, like, you're going to take over a personal recommendation. Someone said, I've been there and they were really good, versus someone who's got, like, loads of 5-star reviews online, because you don't really know that person. But I would also say, like, just to kind of, like, play devil's advocate with that, I know some people that are great mentors that haven't done a massive amount of business because they're great teachers. Like, going to university, I had some great teachers, like, in, like, the business study elements of the courses that hadn't run like massive companies, but they could deliver a skill set that helped me. So I think it's working with somebody that works with you, but also understanding you are ultimately accountable for yourself. Like, you can have a great teacher, but you've then got to go and take the action and deliver on that expertise that you've been given. So if you walk into it thinking, if I get a mentor, I'm going to be rich, your mindset is already in the wrong place. You've got to say, I'm going to this person for them to be able to give me the information, but I'm then going to have to go and run with it. This is a squeaky chair.
Oh no, I can hear you moving. Squeak, squeak.
I've got to stop talking with my hands.
Stop moving. But no, I asked that because I think a lot of people that come into the property world, we get burned. And that is just through me networking in the property world. Majority of the people that I have met and, like, I am now friends with have gone through a bad experience within like a mentor or, like, just a property group, let's say. And I think it's exactly the same within the trading world. Like, you have the bad gurus and you have the good gurus. Within property though, I think it's very hard, because most people find these mentors through social media. I think as much as people can do their due diligence, it is sometimes still hard to find the people who have actually done what they say they've done. No matter how many YouTube videos or social media reels they do, I think it's still very easy to fake it.
Do you know what I would say then? Treat it like dating. Everybody is going to put their best foot forward. Everybody is going to look like they're rich, attractive, successful on social media. That's fine, but what's your gut telling you about this person? Because a lot of the time, whether it would be in the dating world, whether it would be in looking for a mentor, in business and anything, like, you know, your gut feeling, what you actually think, a lot of the time we end up ignoring that because we want the money, we want the person who's promising us the world. But realistically, if something sounds too good to be true, a lot of the time it probably is. And I think if you take that same ethos into looking for a mentor, like, yes, unfortunately, sometimes you may get burned, but then don't overcommit. Don't give somebody the world before they've proved that they're worthwhile your financial commitment to them.
That makes sense. So basically, I guess it is the same with trading. Like, you may get burned in the beginning, but like the conversation we've already had, you have to get back on the horse. Like, you're gonna have a bad experience at some point. And that kind of leads me to your bad experiences. What is the biggest loss that you've taken?
Horse.
The horse. Because I didn't lose on the horse. I just needed some assistance. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help, by the way.
Camel saved the horse.
Hanging off the horse.
Yeah, exactly. I understood, you know, that I was failing and I failed fast and I asked for help. And I think I've done this on, you know, you do this. You seem like the person who wouldn't ask for. He's the kind of person who'll be on the bench pressing, be struggling, be too scared to say, I need help, and just knock himself out. But
that's me.
Yeah.
Swear.
Yeah.
Ego.
Mad.
Ego, yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll take it though. Like, I'm kind of like that. I don't want to ask for help.
I just think like it's ego, and I've had circumstances where you realise like ego can be one of the biggest downfalls of success, and you have to learn to try and where possible. Like, ego can be a great thing in doses, but you have to learn to put it aside. In terms of biggest losses, like financially, there hasn't really been any, and that's not because I'm so amazing. It's because I'm also quite risk adverse. There's people that have, you know, made way more money than me, so my losses are probably relative to opportunity cost of things I missed out on, maybe being too cautious, maybe not wanting to take the risk, and also not trusting in my own ability. So whether that be things that I could have done, and I think a great example was there was a building going for auction recently, and because like the guide price was like 1.4 million, rather than buy that one at auction, I ended up buying 3 smaller ones. And still spent like approximately the 1.4 million. But I thought, oh, that one was too big. But that one as a deal actually would have been so much better, and there was so much more money on it. But I almost closed my mind to bigger opportunities because of fear, and maybe because of like an element of imposter syndrome, or not thinking that I'm there yet. So I think it's just a case
Kazy with imposter syndrome.
No, I want to humble, you know what I mean?
Ego.
Yeah, like I do. I think, no, definitely, like throughout my career as an investor, I'm very risk adverse. Like I've had like a fear of failure. What if it all goes wrong? What if you lose everything? What would that look like? What do I then go and do? So I think for me, my biggest losses have been on opportunities missed out on, as opposed to the direct losses in the actual properties.
You know what? I really appreciate that type of transparency, because I think people look at you on social media, and even me, before we became friends, I know people look at you and think, wow, like, Kazy's the guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kazy's got it all figured out.
No,
Kazy's...
No, we can still be the guy.
No, we're on a humble one right now, okay?
Oh, sorry. Peace and love.
You're a hypocrite, you know.
Nah, bad.
I got the ego thing with the weightlifting.
Oh no, he's a diva. But anyway, while we're on a little humble flex right now, and obviously you are being transparent about the fact that you still get imposter syndrome, fear of failure. I think that is will be very refreshing for people watching to hear, because like I said, people look at you and have you like on this pedestal, and we know, like, we're in the same kind of groups, and we know that people hold you to that standard. Yeah. But I think it is nice for people to hear that you're human.
Yeah.
As much as you are a diva and you have your moments of knowing you're the shit, you still have your moments of being human.
No, all the time. Like obviously everyone, like you have to put best foot forward, you know, whether it be on social media or in person at networking events. But yeah, massively, like even starting a community, people were trying to tell me to start that from 2 years ago.
Really?
And even with like 10 years of experience, I was like, I don't think I know enough. What am I going to be able to add as value? So I think definitely, like, you know, when I go and even doing speaking events and people are like, I'll go and speak here. The first time I did it, I was shitting myself. I said, I think it was in Canary Wharf. So I've got there and I'm jeans and a like PBK hoodie. And I've just looked up at the building and I said, this is worth a lot, isn't it? Like, you know, and I've gone into the room and there's like sort of, so whatever it is, 200 people and they're all in there, you know, 2,000, 5,000 pound suits. I'm there in my Zara jeans and a hoodie and I'm saying, I haven't got anything to teach these people. But it's like when you do it and you start speaking and you realize, people are actually like really engaging with it. And it's that feedback loop. So I guess, yeah, in terms of you have to go out there and do it. You have to sometimes actually, even if you're not, and I think I actually learned this from speaking to Kevin Stewart recently. And it's like, you have to understand that you can't just say I'm an introvert and use that as an excuse to not be out there. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to understand that there's circumstances where you've got to be loud because closed mouths don't get fed. And you've got to understand there's circumstances where you've got to shut up and listen. And I think understanding and being able to read the rooms and understand opportunities is one of like, you know, the cornerstones of success.
I think I agree. And I think it is good how, like, I think you are the perfect example of it. Like you have the humble side where you're like, I still do have fear of failure. I'm very humble about it. But then you also have the side of like, yes, like I'm Kazy and I know my shit. And I think you do have to balance the both, because I think like, I always say at the moment, like I'm kind of living in a world of like delusion at the moment. Like I know where I want to be and I'm going to act like I'm kind of already there within reason until I get there, because I think that is how you're going to get there. You have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. You have to do things where you think, do people even care? Like, are people even listening to me? But I think you do have like that perfect balance of like, you can be both. You can be Kazy the diva, but then you can be also Kazy on a humble flex. Exactly.
Peace and love.
Star.
Do you think that kind of like teaching or speaking is part of the process then?
What's that? Say again, sorry?
So do you think that kind of Brian caught me off guard. Sorry, he asked me to ask you, and I saw it, and I didn't understand the question myself, to be honest with you. I'll be dead honest with you. But I just memorised it, and I thought I was expecting him to know.
That was mad funny. He's never got no questions, you know. He doesn't know what's going on. What's your name?
Oh yeah, I need Kazy every fucking episode. Yes.
I'm out, man.
He didn't even know his own question. What's happening here?
I'm sweating.
It's hot, man.
You know what I'm saying? While it's hot, all we can hear is...
No, show the camera your shoes, please. Please. Lift your foot up and show the camera.
That is heavy, man.
Look, he couldn't even lift it up.
Well, we're going to have to wrap up soon because Kazy has a meeting to go to. Or was it poker that you were going to play?
We've spoken about work-life balance. I've got to go to a meeting to allow me enough time to then get to poker and have the funds to actually, you know, so...
Are you a good poker player? Is that what you call a poker player?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, in my head, like... You know, I don't really understand trading still. But in my head, that's the closest thing.
Gambling?
No, because gambling is like roulette. We have no control over.
Okay.
Whereas with poker, yes, there's an element of luck and risk, but it also comes down to you understanding the game and taking strategic risks. So I'm going to not gamble, I'm going to take some strategic risks, bearing in mind that I choose to play with people that are very financially well endowed, that maybe are not as concerned as me about losing money. So actually some people from your field, some traders, they love a gamble though. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be boxing, it could be the basketball they've never even watched, it could be UFC, gamble simultaneously all at once. But
Talk
it's
about how to spend your payout.
I mean, your industry must do pretty well. I've seen people lose tens of £1,000s on a night and smile it off. But The plus side about this game, there's a really good chef there. And the chef makes it well worthwhile. Will cook you anything you want.
So,
Yeah.
is this like at a house or like a
Yeah, it's like
special place to go?
yeah, it's like
what they're called? Casino?
It's a special
Yeah, so
place
like-
where they gamble. Casino.
Yeah, so I've been to a few places. I don't really go to casinos, but yeah, some members clubs and some private venues
Okay.
as well.
Nice.
Do you go to a special place?
How's been your payout? Go and play some poker. So you said that you're good at Monopoly. Are you as good at poker?
Yeah.
You had to think about that though.
No, I was just thinking which one I'm better at, because I'm very good at both.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I enjoy both. I think there's a lot of similarity in terms of both of them. The game is the game, and the rules are very straightforward.
Yeah.
You can learn the rules in a day, but to actually become good at it, you learn to play the odds and play the player as well.
Just like trading.
There we go.
Loves
I
that.
don't even know if trading, but
Well, thank you so much for coming on Trader Talk and being
pleasure.
our first guest who isn't a trader or in any type of financial industry.
All right, I'm gonna lock back in, and by the time I see you again, I'm gonna be an expert trader.
Love that. Take something from it. We love that. But no, thank
absolute
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much
really
for coming.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on.
So as always, guys, please make sure you like, comment, and make sure that you are subscribed. Berkay is currently having a meltdown as usual, but come back next week for another episode of Trader Talk.
I thought you were threatening to step on me if you don't subscribe. Subscribe.